All right, everybody, if you still think you're in the real estate game, you are already behind. This game is not about ARVs, buyers lists, or looking up contracts. It's about controlling attention. And the investors who win, they think like marketers, not like landlords. And today, you're going to hear from the guy who invented virtual wholesaling, not taught it, he invented it. Before all the software and before nationwide deals were cool, Cris Chico was quietly printing checks and running direct response ads and postcards that turned motivated sellers into inbound leads on autopilot. This is the episode that absolutely flips the script on what you're doing. No more chasing sellers. No more outsourcing your most valuable skills. It is time to control your lead flow, own your deal flow, and scale your income like a real business. Welcome to the Closers Club, where real investors close real deals, build real businesses, and never beg for leads again. All right, let's jump right in. Cris, I know firsthand how much of a shift it is when you stop thinking about real estate like an investor and start thinking like a marketer. Why do so many investors miss this? And can you really describe like what that actually means and what happens when they finally?
I think what it comes down to is just there's a couple of things that happen. Number one is you have to think about you being a rainmaker in the business versus a technician, right? Because when you are in the marketing business, and this is what happened to me, I was way back in the days, I was doing postcard marketing before anybody else was doing it.
Yes.
And I was so inundated with leads that I had friends. This is before acquisitions managers were the game. And I said, hey, I've got so many leads. Do you want to do deals with me, and I'll teach you the ropes, and off to the races we went. So it's different positioning in your mindset of you're the rainmaker. Your role is to bring in leads and then create then an opportunity for other people to come into your business and achieve their opportunity. So it's a bit of a mindset shift. That's number one. I think it also, by shifting to a marketer perspective, it releases the responsibility, the desire, and then also the obligation for you to become a better real estate investor, right? Because there is a base amount of knowledge that everybody has to have to do a contract, to do assignments, etc. But there is in my belief, there's a point of diminishing return of acquiring additional information on that. And a better use of your time is to now spend it on becoming a better marketer so that you can bring in leads. You know, you could be somebody that has 50 ways of doing a deal, but if you don't have any leads, you're not going to make any money. But the opposite is true. You can really know how to do a real estate deal, but if you know how to bring in the leads, you're guaranteed to make money. You went out a little bit to make sure you could hear me.
Yeah. No, I'm here. Yeah, I think that is so important that, people do, they want to spend endless amounts of time learning every single strategy, but you have to have a constant lead flow. Otherwise your business is going to have these ones. And I love that is, that's really, I think, the thing that you focused on. And, years ago when I was just getting started, that's why I was drawn to you and all the stuff that you were teaching.
Yeah. And the other part of it is a couple other things I was going to mention is number one is fear. It's a lot easier for somebody starting out brand new to put in their time and say, put in 5 hours worth of work or 10 hours cold calling and not get anywhere, not get any leads because it's only their time. But, for them, it's a mindset shift they might spend $100 that day and not get any leads, and they have to be okay with that because that's part of the game. So I think it's a fear. And then also, I think sometimes in our industry, people put the fear of God into people about marketing and spending money on marketing and say, oh no, you should never do that as a beginner. That's the most horrible way to begin. And so there's a bit of a mind virus that's infected everybody about marketing that we have to kind of, change their belief around it.
Yeah, there's certainly ways to do time and money thing. How much time do you have to really go out, walking the streets, knocking on a vacant house? And sometimes, you may be in an area where there just aren't a lot of vacancies. So I love inbound marketing. We've always used it when we were wholesaling. And I know you started with postcards, but how have you evolved and what are you finding is the most successful thing now?
Yeah, so I started with postcard marketing in around 2016. I ventured into online marketing at the
Yeah.
time. A lot, most investors are doing PPC, pay per click. Not many were doing social
Yeah.
media ads with Facebook. So in
Yeah.
2016, I went down the rabbit hole with Facebook, and I was one of the first guys, if not the first guy, to publish a course on Facebook ads for motivated sellers. And then, there's been many changes to the platform since then, but we
Mhm.
also added TikTok ads. And then
Really?
most recently, yeah, so we do also TikTok ads for motivated sellers. And then most recently, the thing that I'm really excited about is YouTube ads for motivated sellers. So
Really?
so we're also doing that. And, the great thing is with YouTube ads for motivated sellers is that, when you look at the landscape of agencies that are helping real estate investors, with marketing, there's a
Mhm.
ton of agencies doing Google search. There's a ton of agencies using Facebook ads for motivated sellers, some with TikTok. But
Yeah.
there's basically, I think, one agency that is helping investors with YouTube ads. And really, nobody's really doing YouTube ads right now. So I think it's a blue ocean. And we're
Wow.
seeing that with the number of leads that people get to contract, how many leads to contract. And then
Yeah.
also the sellers is not as beat up, meaning
Huh.
that when you're on Facebook, and you
Mhm.
see an ad for selling your house for cash, you're very
Mhm.
likely to see many, many more ads of the same type on
Right.
Facebook.
Right.
But the way that the frequency works on YouTube, and the fact that there's not that many advertisers, it's very unlikely that you're going to see another ad for something for looking to sell your house. So right now,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that we're really excited about.
Yeah. And it's, this was something I always found instead of me, calling somebody or texting somebody and trying to lasso them and pull them into my funnel, it just feels like it's just a completely different shift and different kind of call when that person is calling
Yes.
me to solve their problem.
I call it transitioning from being an annoying pest to a welcome guest, right?
Yeah.
Because if when you're cold calling and you talk to
Mhm.
that seller, then you know the
Mhm.
questions you have to field. Who are you? How'd you get my number? Oh, why
Mhm.
don't you make me an offer?
Yeah.
Versus if you have an inbound lead, then you're just reaching out to somebody who raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested in selling my property at a discount. And it's
Mhm.
a much more pleasant conversation and an entry point from a
Yeah.
conversational standpoint.
Yeah, it would seem like for sure that those people are just like, it's just like it's a different like power dynamic,
Yeah,
right? Instead of
exactly.
I'm trying to convince them while they're standing in line at Walmart to check out to to book a second call. And they're just, they're reaching out and looking for help. So you talked about running Facebook ads and YouTube ads, and you said TikTok is working
TikTok
too,
ads,
huh?
yeah, for motivated sellers. Yeah.
I would not think that it would. Are those complicated to set up? Is that something I should have an agency do? Is that something I can learn myself? What do you think is the best way
My
there?
belief is that every being under the umbrella that marketing is the most important part of your business. I believe that every
It
investor should
is.
learn how to,
Mhm.
at a basic level, run and understand how ads work and how to run them. Because number one is that they'll find
Yeah.
that it's a lot easier than they think it is. That's number one, because a lot of these platforms, they're built
Mhm.
for the regular mom and pop business owners that can log onto the platform and then start to run
Mhm.
ads. So it's not as difficult as
Right.
people perceive it to be. Number two is that even if later on you
Mm.
did want to outsource it, now at least you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if you're outsourcing ads, and we hear stories all the time of people spending an exorbitant amount of money and not getting anywhere. But if the agency tells you a bunch of BS, you have no idea what the hell they're talking about anyway. So if
Yeah.
you are an informed person that knows what you're doing, then
Mhm.
that's going to be better for you overall. But my belief is, and this is what I see with a lot of the big wholesalers, is eventually they bring that in house.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that everyone should learn how to run ads because that is the fuel to our
Mhm.
business.
I think you're right. It's like hiring getting your first rental property and hiring a property manager, and they're like, "That water heater is gonna be $2,200." And you're like,
Yeah,
okay, like I don't really know, and you don't have any, especially in the marketing, you always want to keep good KPIs, and I know you talk about that and having a good baseline for how something is performing. But let's say somebody today is like, you know what, I love what Chris is saying. Like, how long does it take to get Facebook ads up and
yeah. I
running?
mean, somebody could literally sit down and within 24 to 48 hours start running their ad
Mhm.
campaigns. There's not that much of a
Really?
requirement. Number two is that if you set them up correctly, within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to start to get leads. So it's not a situation where sometimes I've heard people say, hey, if you're going to run your own ads and you got to wait a couple weeks and then finally eventually you're going to start getting leads. If that happens, then you don't know what you're doing or something is wrong, because you can literally start from scratch a campaign today and within the first 24 hours start getting leads. So it's not terribly difficult. All you got to do is sit down and make a decision. I think a lot of people are very averse to learning something new. And we hear I am not a tech person. But then now they're labeling themselves and saying, oh, I lost you there. Let me see. I lost them. But there you go.
There you go. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, and I think, they're at least, Facebook is so much better at targeting, where you can get in front of the right people, almost immediately. And one of the things I just dropped down here in the comments is your YouTube channel, because I know you talk about this a lot and do just a ton of education on it.
Yeah, I would say for anybody who's interested, if your interest is peaked, you can always go to my YouTube channel. Got a ton of videos and materials there. And, I just my encouragement is I just believe that marketing is the most important part of our business. Where if you're a wholesaler, you're in the marketing business.
Yeah.
And, from an inbound lead perspective, you can do direct mail. There's people doing direct mail, cold calling, and then that's the a secondary channel. But outbound is getting tougher. Cold calling is getting tougher. Pickup rates are lower. SMS is very spicy.
And regulation.
Yeah, and regulation and everything else. And even Texas just passed a regulation that makes cold calling difficult in Texas, but it doesn't in any way affect inbound leads, because they're calling you, they're reaching out to you. And the other thing is just speed to contract. With a cold call lead, you're going to get those people that are ready to go, but it takes some massaging and some, you just call them out of the blue, so they weren't really thinking about it. Versus an inbound lead, you can put a property in the contract that same day, you get on the phone with them, you work out the details, and there's always buckets of leads. There's leads that are going to require some follow-up. But in terms of getting leads in the door and potentially putting a property in the contract ASAP, that's the other great thing about inbound leads. Why? Because these people are reaching out, they're initiating that contact, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. Just do that big convincing. Like, it's not like you're pushing that boulder up the hill. I know on cold calling, even good people are like converting 1 in 50 calls. Is it much less with these inbound, especially from Facebook?
It is with an asterisk, and that also, and it depends on the individual.
Right.
I always say, if you talk like you got a sock in your mouth, if you talk like you need 4 cups of coffee, then you got a problem. You ain't going to close that many deals.
Yeah.
Our best clients are, doing 1 out of every 10 leads.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow. So just to put in context with an asterisk, our best client, I'll give you an idea. We had a client that was doing cold calling. He had a team of cold callers. He fired them, came on board, and we set him up with his ads. In May, and in July, he made $107,000 in cash collected. In August, he made just shy under $700,000. Now he had a big deal that was an ovation deal in California that he made $620,000.
Oh my Lord!
But now this guy is amazing on the phone. I mean, he could sell me. I want to sell him my house when I'm on the phone with him, right? So and he's doing 1 out of 10ish leads, and he did all that with only spending like $2 or $3 grand worth of ads. Now, if you're brand new to business, if you're brand new to business, you're gonna need more leads,
Right.
But I always recommend to people, look, if you're brand new to business, what you could do is run nationwide. You're going to get cheap leads, $10, $15 a lead, and you're just going to talk to people. And I guarantee you that at the end of 30 days, if you talk to 30 or 40 people, you're going to have to get better. Okay.
Right.
You're going to have to get better. So, that's to answer your question. It depends on that person, individual. And so I would say, the advice I would give to people is, number one, don't avoid getting great on the phone. And by getting great on the phone, it just doesn't mean a script. It means tonality, how you sound, and everything else around that. Comping and property analysis is key. Underwriting, that. And also throw in 2 strategies, being wholesaling and novation, as 2 ways for you to monetize the leads. You froze again.
What it is today, if it's because of the rain here or what it is. All right, we're back.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
I don't, I don't know what you heard.
I got all the way to comping.
Oh yeah, yeah. I said property.
Yeah.
Learning how to talk to people over the phone, comping, and then also it helps if you do a dual strategy such as wholesaling and novations.
Love it. Yeah, and I think those are enough, for a strategy. I think those are kind of the two core things. And we always anchor with the cash, and then we roll backwards um to novate. Somebody had to start and just pick one, right? Of all the different strategies out there, direct mail, PPC, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, like where would and I know you've coached thousands of students, where do you point them to first to like get things started and not be overwhelmed?
I mean, I point them to Facebook for a couple
Okay.
of different reasons. Facebook allows you to start off with a much smaller budget. I mean, we have
Oh,
clients that are doing $10 a day, and they're able
really?
to get leads. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so Facebook is a great platform to get started, to learn how to run campaigns.
Hmm.
The what you learn there is easily applied into the other platforms, and
Hmm.
so it'll be easy for you to get leads and learn the ropes. And then at that point, then you can then transition into the other platforms. The next
Yeah.
one that's very similar to Facebook in terms of how it works is
Hmm.
TikTok. And then Google is just better if you have a little bit more money to spend. By a little bit more money to spend, meaning
Hmm.
that if you could spend 35 or $50 a day, which is about $1,500 a month. So we're not
Oh,
asking
okay.
for like your third child and an arm and a leg. But if you could afford a little bit more, then I
Yeah.
would say you could definitely go with YouTube ads.
Yeah, but it sounds like all of those are going to be cheaper than a $2,000 texting platform plus data plus phone
Correct.
lines and
Correct.
and even some overseas caller who, honestly, the quality is terrible. I get phone calls all the time, people
Yeah.
wanting to buy my rentals, and half the time they just pick up, don't say anything, and wait long enough for it to be a call and then hang up. So I absolutely love inbound calls. When we switched from texting years ago to inbound calls, it was just like night and day. And our team absolutely loved it.
Yeah, you're gonna like it. The salespeople will like it, and in the end,
Yeah.
it's a much different business, and also too at the same time,
Hmm.
it leads to greater predictability. Because with all these
Hmm.
platforms, that's a couple of things. Number one is predictable. With all these platforms, you if you're gonna spend X, it's
Yeah.
without fail. If you set up things correctly, you're gonna get X number of leads. The
Yeah.
other nuance on this is that unlike say if you're doing cold calling, if you
Hmm.
wanted to increase your lead flow, you would have to
Yeah.
hire more humans, skip trace more lists, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. With
Train them.
inbound marketing,
Yeah.
all you got to do is change the number on the screen, and that's it. Automatically tomorrow, you're going to have more
You're
leads.
kidding me.
But it's also a lot easier to scale too, as well.
Yeah.
I think you froze again.
Yeah, and I don't know what is going on with my internet. I know we paid the bill. It's not that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed that very
No,
last
no.
little piece. I'm so sorry.
What I was saying is that from a scaling perspective, right? If you have cold callers and you wanted to
Yeah.
increase your lead flow, you got to hire more
Hmm.
cold callers. You got to skip trace more. Get more numbers
Yeah.
and all that other jazz.
Right.
With online lead generation, it's just
Yeah.
changing the number on the screen. You change the budget, and then tomorrow, now you're going to have more leads.
Right. Mhm. Yeah. I think it's really a great strategy, especially Facebook, because it's going to bring you probably the most
Yeah.
leads out of all of them. But yeah, you can start with a little bit of a budget. You can control it. It's not, I'm going to start this and I have no idea how much they're going to hit my credit card for each month, and that you can dial it up. And I do love what you said about doing it nationwide, because you do
Yeah.
need reps. You do need to get up to the plate if you're new and get on those calls and not be afraid. And you know, again, I know you've coached so many people. How, how do people get over that fear? Because I had that fear in the very beginning. If I've got the lead and oh my God, what am I going to do? They're so nervous
Yeah, I
to
would
get on the
say that
phone.
you're never going to eliminate it 100%. The three things I would
Yeah,
say is number one training, only one training you're going to go through on how to talk to sellers. You don't need like 15
yeah,
of them. You don't need like a gazillion courses, just one. Number two, it would help
yeah,
for you, and like, this is for somebody starting out brand new, for you to listen to a few calls so you have an idea of how the conversation goes. I'm a big fan of having a script.
yeah.
And again, the script is key
Hmm.
because I'm a big fan of internalizing and knowing the script like the back of your hand. And the reason for that is that
Okay.
I always give the example of a Broadway play. In a Broadway play, they're reciting the same thing over and over again. But
Hmm.
because they know that like the back of their hand, they can put inflection into it. They can put more feeling behind it. They can actually make it their own. And so, but if you know a script and you've committed to a script and you know it like the back of your hand,
Yeah.
then now you can focus on the other parts of sales, which are equally important, such as the tonality, how you come across,
Right.
etc. Plus, if you're not thinking about what you're going to say next, then you're going to be able to listen to that prospect. If you're constantly thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say next? Then that
Yeah.
ruins the whole train because you're not really listening to them. So I believe that having a script is key. And then at the end of the day, you're going to have to jump off the ledge and you're going to
Right.
have to get on the phone and know that, the best thing is that, if you're cold calling and you get a lead every so often, the challenge with that is that you treat every lead that comes in and then, like as if you're carrying it on a little white pillow because you're such afraid. Oh my God, I know
Fabergé
when
egg.
my next
Yeah.
lead is going to come. But
Yeah.
if you've got a consistent system that leads are coming in, even if you screw up everything, you know that tomorrow there's going to be more leads coming down the pipe anyway. So it also leads to less pressure, in my opinion, when you're doing inbound like we do.
Yeah, 100%. Treat every lead like it's important. Treat every person like it's your mother, and be interested in them and try to legitimately solve their problem. I know that we're assigning these deals, but we still want to, ask all the right questions. And I love what you said. I don't think you need, 42 elaborate scripts. Like, this is a pretty simple business. How can we help these people? These people are losing sleep. Anybody that answers a Facebook ad to sell their house quick is probably, they're in some type of distress, and this thing is keeping them up at night. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Wonderful. So we popped up here your YouTube link. I definitely want everybody to, is it, there it is. Oh, there it is. Make sure that you go over there and follow Cris. He puts out so much information. I mean, it's literally a ton of information. And I know he also has an option where, if you want some hand holding and running through this, he can help you with that. And then also Facebook, same thing, man. You drop a ton of free info and videos and stuff on Facebook, and I watch every single one of them. I think they're absolutely amazing. All right, I'm going to hit you with our kind of last question here. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. I know you run a very big business, but if somebody today just deleted everything, all of the campaigns, everything that you've set up, and you had to rebuild your business, right, literally from scratch, what's the very first thing that you would do? And I think I have an idea from our talk here, but I just want people, to feel comfortable if you're just starting that you can get this business up and running very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, what I would do, this is assuming that I would still be running ads, right? So if I'm running ads, I don't have a whole lot of money to spend. I'd be looking at doing Facebook ads nationwide. I get myself a good wholesale contract, a good novation contract, and then a great script that I can follow and I have internalized. And then I'm going to go ahead and get on the phones and talk to people and genuinely try to help them. And that's really all you need. If you think about it, all you need is two agreements, and you need an assignment of contract. So three agreements, a script, and leads. That is all you need. And repetition. That is it. Repetition is the key. And even if you don't have any buyers, or if you have a hard time copying, if you find a motivated seller, you can always lean on another investor. You can find somebody else to say, hey, I think I got a good deal. Can you help me? And you give them 50% of the deal, and they walk you through the whole process. And then in the end, you'll start getting deals. You start getting money in your checking account, and then everything else just continues to flow from there. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. The thing with, everybody's always looking for a new script. There's no magic words. There's no magic. It's just, care about people, try to help them. And, the reason the best closers close 1 out of 10, you're not going to close every single person. So stop thinking that, right? Like, who are the people that really need our help? And those people, if you run some good ads and you run enough and you get enough leads, those people will rise to the top. And as investors, that's our job, is to help people. So we'll be able to do that. We'll make a bunch of money. The seller's happy. We're happy. Our buyer's happy. Everybody's happy. And we can move on with life and carry on.
I mean, the only last thing I would mention, I don't know if you froze there for a second. I would say I would encourage everybody to have somebody else critique their calls by listening to them. Most people don't really understand how bad they sound over the phone. And then they can't figure out why they can't do a deal. And then when you listen to them, you're like, I know why you can't do a deal. Why would somebody sell their house to you? You sound half dead.
God.
You broke out again. You good?
Goodness. I know. I don't know what is happening today. This is the worst I've ever seen it. No, absolutely. A lot of people that do sports, they're doing the pole vault. They get recorded with the run and how they stick the pole. and how they go over. Yeah, you absolutely need to be listening to it. And sometimes it's painful. I listen to some of my videos, and this one will be bad because it's broken up a couple times. But yeah, you have to listen to your tonality and how you come across, and are you repeating things, and are you moving in one direction. So I think that's amazing advice. Cris, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Guys, I want to encourage you to go over and check out Chris's YouTube channel. Again, so much information over there. Cris was one of the OG guys in this industry, and one of the people that I followed when I was ramping up my wholesale business. Absolutely was crucial to everything that we did. So for that, I know I've told you before, but you were such an inspiration and and a mentor to us. So I do really appreciate that. So thank you so much for coming on the Closers Club.